I do not want to have a cat again. No. Yeah, I'm moving this. Yeah. Yeah, we're not dealing with this. No. We had this once on the podcast before. We're not doing it again.
Oh, but it was so fun.
Oh, I know. I know.
It's a new year, and this is the iPhoneography podcast. On this episode, we talk about what we thought were our highlights from 2022 and what we're looking forward to in 2023. All coming up. It's Monday, January 2nd, and this is the first episode of 2023. Hello, Dave. How you doing? Haven't talked to you since last year.
There we go. But
Yeah.
doing good, Greg. Doing good. We
That's
thawed
good.
out
That's
from
good.
last week. We thought we can't go. We can. I can't start off even a little delay without talking about weather, because
Yes,
the
that's
weather
true.
has been crazy over the last week.
Oh, don't I know that?
I mean, I know you've had snow up the wazoo.
Yes.
We went from before Christmas. We went from 60-degree days, warm,
Mm-hmm.
down to Christmas Eve, the wind chill was below 0 Fahrenheit.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, it was absolute frigid. Last weekend we were in the 20s for highs, and this week coming up, first week in January, we're supposed to be in the 60s.
That's crazy.
And I know Europe's having a heat spell right now, where like Poland's near 20 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and like Lithuania, I saw was in the high teens Celsius. I'm like, this is not normal for this time of year
Yeah.
for Europe. This is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we had so here's been our late fall, early winter so far. About 5 weeks ago, we got about 3 feet of snow in about 36 hours. That's no secret. I've talked about it on here before. And then a few days later, it all went away. We were back to green lawns and whatever. And then on the 23rd, I think it was, before Christmas, we had a blizzard come through. And we got lambasted with more snow. I had my front sidewalk leading up to the house had about 3 to 4 feet of snow in it, but there was a lot of high winds that came with this snow. So the snow itself, that wasn't as much snow falling as there was the first time, but with the wind, it just blew it around so bad that it just looked nasty in some places. So then now here we are, January 2nd, and it's gone again. We've had mild weather, we've had rain, and now there's just wherever the snow was blown from snow blowers and snow plows, where it was really packed down tight. That's the only snow that's left. Everywhere else on the lawns and all that stuff, gone. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm just waiting to see when we're going to get the next one.
Oh. See, this is the one thing, is that when you're taking photos in the winter, generally, I would say generally, you're like, okay, it got cold. It's going to be this way. I'll get in this mindset. I'll prepare this way. You can't
Oh,
do that
yeah.
this year. You can't do
No.
that this year.
No, you have to hope that you get another blizzard just to make it look pretty again. Because right now
Yeah.
it looks
Muck.
really, really nasty. Like it's
Yeah.
there's a lot of snert laying around, and that is snow with dirt.
Yeah.
So
That's what they don't show
photographically, it's
on.
terrible.
Yeah, that's what they don't show on the Hollywood movies.
Yeah, that's right.
They always show, oh, look at the pretty snow and the light blowing and the blah 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 blah. They don't
Yeah,
tell you that what it looks like, and people live up north and deal with snow knows what it looks like the next day, because you're driving it to work and you're like,
yeah,
it's blah. I mean,
yeah.
you can get
Oh, yeah.
some really impressive photos that are, it's beauty in its own way. Similar to, you can get some really impressive desert scapes.
Yeah. Oh
just
yeah.
because of the barren dark. You can
Yep.
sorry, you can do some really good black and white photos maybe
Hmm.
this time of year if you have that, snow dirt combination and make it look kind of barren and, wasteland looking.
Yeah. But
But
you have to have the right location, you know.
exactly. And you almost have to be on the lookout for it.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
thing.
for sure.
Like I said, when you're like, okay, we're in winter, I'm going to expect this. And let's say you are someone who uses lens filters and other things. You're like, okay, I have to be ready for snow. I have to be ready for the whiteness. I have to get ready for the white balance, dealing with the snow reflecting and the blue. And then all of a sudden, it's like, no, you don't.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that thing you had to deal with last week. No, you don't have to deal with that anymore. You have to deal with spring weather, pretty much,
Yeah.
except no color.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it takes stick season to a whole nother level.
It does. It most definitely does.
But well, you know what? Here we are, the second day of the year, and I think we finally recovered from the holidays, and so we're
Working on it.
gonna, hey,
Working on it.
yeah. So what we'll do is, before we look at our recent photos, we will talk a little bit about, and we did the same thing last year. Um, we'll talk a little bit about what our a couple of highlights were from 2022, and then what we're looking forward to in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, you know, and inside baseball, folks, this is something that Dave and I just come up with it about 15 minutes ago. So we're not kidding when we said we're kind of just recovering from the holidays. But I mean, I'll throw one out there real quick, and I don't think I think this is a no brainer. Um, and anybody that is in the same boat could probably say the same thing. But a real highlight for me from 2022 is getting my new iPhone. It's anytime I get a new iPhone, it's a highlight for the year. And these are, this is all photographically speaking, right? So we're not talking about personal highlights, because I mean, the biggest personal highlight would be for me was the arrival of my grandson. But we're talking about photography here, and so getting a new iPhone is like getting a new camera, and it's always exciting, and it just what can I say? They just keep getting better.
Yep.
And Dave, you got your 13 last year,
Mm-hmm.
and you got that from an iPhone 10. So I'm
Yeah.
sure you were just like a little kid at Christmas time.
Oh yeah, it was trying all the new stuff. And I
Yeah.
had
Oh
I
yeah.
and I had I don't want to say I had more new stuff than you did, but I had a bigger jump than you did.
Yeah. Yeah. You did.
But
Um,
you with the new 48 megapixel option with the 2x zoom.
yeah.
That's something really brand new for iPhone photographers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
And
that's something complete because it has to be raw, so it is a pro feature. But it's just that having that 2x zoom and knowing when you can use it, when you can't, because it is pixel binning.
yeah.
So if it's too dark, you can't do it. If there's, this situation probably works better. It's a whole feeling out process.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And one thing I'm finding with the 14 Pro Max is that the it takes it takes a lot more for it to actually kick into night mode. Like it has to be kind of dark
Yeah.
before it'll kick in. And I think, when they did their spiel about, 2 times better in low light and all this stuff, well, again, I'm gonna stick to my guns when I say it's because the ability to go to a much higher ISO than before. And um, but yeah, that 2x configuration is one of my favorites. It's
Yeah.
definitely a game changer for me, and I've just been having a lot of fun with it. So what would your number? Well, not number. We're not going to rank them, but
Yeah. Right.
your
Well,
first highlight that you want to
let me
mention.
just add on to your note about the light mode, the dark mode, the night
Hmm.
mode taking long, not dark mode, but the night mode taking longer to get into per se.
Yep.
Taking photos of Christmas lights. I noticed this year, and noticed last year, but I probably wasn't paying as much attention because I was just trying to feel out the camera at the time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my photos they turn out live. They're just right because the Christmas lights are bright enough that it's not having to go into night mode.
Oh yeah, okay.
Even middle, dark, like 7, 8 o'clock at night, it should go, but just the lights from people's porches, that's enough where, it's like, okay, I can handle this without having to go into night mode.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
That's impressive.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, it hopefully will just keep getting better and better and better and better with the different algorithms, and the larger sensor helps, and hopefully it'll keep going that way.
Yeah, definitely.
But the big thing I think that this has affected everybody was, and I called it the implosion of Instagram for photos. If most people look at and I'm hearing this from people who do photography for a living, the views of your photos and your likes of your photos are down significantly from last year. And Instagram, remember, this was the year they came out and said, we're not primarily for photos. We're primarily for short form video.
Yeah, they openly admitted it.
Yeah. And so then you had a bunch of people say, hey, I'm going to make a reel. All I'm going to do is take a photo, put some music on it, keep it up there for 5 seconds. I've even heard people put out reels that were, hey, Instagram, you wanted more reels? Well, here's a photo I'm doing as a reel.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah.
And have you noticed whether these people are maintaining that,
it's hard
numbers?
to tell, but yeah, it's hard to tell, but just knowing my own numbers, and this is a screenshot I did, and I posted to the Facebook group, and I posted to my Instagram, funny enough. The reach of my reels, and admittedly, it can be a larger reach because they're pushing them more, but the reach of my reels is more than my post. And a large amount of my reels, because I really hate Instagram's editing for reels. It's not good. It's not good at all. So I create them in TikTok first. When you create them in TikTok, they save it to your camera roll, and then
you can just post it from there.
I just upload it. And I think a lot of people do that because if you notice, there's a lot of Instagram reels with a little TikTok watermark on them.
Yeah,
and that's all right. People are doing, because TikTok's video creation tools, and including the one they purchased, CapCut, are really nice.
Yeah.
They have templates that you can, like, okay, put this here, and it'll say, put, picture here, and we'll do kind of crops between. That's where a lot of these, you see, like, here's a picture, here's a canned reaction, here's another picture, here's another canned reaction. That's built into a template that TikTok's giving you, and they're saying, just give us your photos or your video. We're going to throw it in there, and we'll create this little 10, 15 second little video from it.
Yeah.
With music and everything. So that's so it's just getting pushed of, if I'm lucky. Now, admittedly, this may be only me, but if I'm lucky, I'll have a photo or a group of photos get 10 likes. And maybe 50, 60 views if I'm lucky. But I've had videos that I have no idea why take off and get 2,000 to 3,000 views and 60, 70 likes for a reel. And
it's
the reels
that's what they're pushing, though, right?
Yeah, and the photos, I'm trying to, I'm taking the photo, I'm trying to do the editing, make it look a certain way. The reels a lot of times are just stupid little things.
Yeah.
Stupid little filters, and it's like, I'll just throw it up there just to throw it up everywhere type thing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I would have said, maybe mid-year saying, well, Instagram's going away for photos. Where else can you have an open platform that tons of people can see your, if you wanted to publicize or just, get your photos out there, it isn't Flickr, you know.
Well, I think just about anywhere else, you have to
pay.
Gather the followers.
Right.
Right. You have
And
to
it's a
work
lot
on your
harder.
network.
And it's a lot harder because in other services, the one advantage of Instagram, and everyone hates ads, but the one advantage of Instagram was it was free.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I want to post and save the Flickr, I have to pay. If I want to do it to SmugMug, I have to pay.
Well, in Flickr's defense, you can do it free on Flickr, but you're limited to 1,000 posts, right?
Right. Yeah, you're limited to something that, yeah. And honestly, if I can't post somewhere, I'm generally not going to go there to view.
Yeah,
or if it's a hassle, or if it's a hassle to post, I'm not going to go to somewhere where I can't post my own things.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get the huge brands and the mass of people.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just so many more eyeballs on Instagram than there is anywhere else.
Yeah. And the other option are Facebook groups like our Facebook group. Mm-hmm. But anytime you ask someone to do, hey, we have this new thing, but you need to go over here and create a new login and get something else set up.
Yeah.
And here's a brand new thing. And like I said, ask me mid-year, I would have said Twitter has a chance. Twitter has had issues over the last 3 months or so for some inexplicable reason that is making it really unstable, and a lot of places don't want to be on Twitter anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you don't know what ad is going to be next to your photo that you just posted.
And as soon as you open Twitter now, the first thing you see is an ad, whereas it used to be a post and then an ad.
Yeah.
So that it's just a hot mess. But yeah, I mean,
now I would
Instagram has imploded a little bit. It's certainly not dead. There's so many people that are still on it. I think there's a small number of people proportionately that actually left Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's still, if I looked at my the number of people that I follow on there, I'll just do it right now. I'll bet you it's still pretty close to what it was this time last year. Yeah, like I'm following 2,097 people, and I don't think that that's dropped that much at all, really. There's still a lot of people that I follow on there that say they like to be on there and they don't want to leave it. I mean, hey, we're still there. So, yeah, it's.
But this also means that it's going to be chaotic for the next couple of years. So, but there may be something new coming on that we don't see.
Yeah, who knows, right?
So it kind of makes it exciting. Nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know how many times I've said this, but I really have a love-hate relationship with Facebook and Instagram. I love the people that I, communicate with and whatnot and interact with on these places, but I just hate how they run their business. And I think my love of the people outweighs my hate for the business and the business model and the way they run it. So that's why I'm still there. And it's probably not going to change. I mean, I do have a lot of fun with the groups on Facebook. That's pretty much the only thing I do is go through groups. My personal feed hardly has anything on it. So, but yeah, it's I think it's somewhat imploded. It definitely it's an implosion for photographers.
Right.
But I think the key is like you've mentioned, photographers are starting to get to know how to make it work for them by making reels out of photos, and maybe that's something I'll have to try and experiment with.
Yeah.
Another point for me was seeing your blue caddy picture. That's in the episode called Dave Nails It. That picture, it's still one of my favorite pictures that you've done, and
That's appreciated.
I can't get over. I can still remember how excited I was to see that. Like I think my jaw literally made a sound when it hit the table. So that was a real highlight for me, because your photography has just improved so much in the last couple of years, and that picture just, wow, it just it was definitely a highlight for me.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah. And honestly, a lot of it's just taking pictures and trying.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best thing you could do to get better, is take more pictures.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, like anybody that's just starting out with it and they want to know, okay, what do I do? The first thing I tell them is, well, we're digital. You could take as many pictures as you want, and you just delete the ones you don't like. So yeah, just keep snapping.
Trying apps, because
yeah,
a lot of that part of that look was, the angle, and the car was beautiful, but the angle and everything else, but the edit I did in Photo Room.
Yeah.
Because that's what gave it that kind of bluish tinge with everything else going on.
Yeah.
So if I wouldn't have used that app, it would have been a good photo, but it wouldn't have had that extra look to it.
Yeah, it may not have had that wow factor.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the that's where the creativeness and the freedom to create art in photography just really shines. That's a prime example. And so yeah, that was definitely a good one. So you have another one, and it's app related.
Yes. And it is because Polar decided to change its description. And nothing against them doing it, but it was a little steep in my mind to pay. Mm-hmm. So I started to use Lightroom Mobile. And honestly, I like the filters in Polar better. I like the fact that Polar used the photos library, so you didn't have to import photos and then export photos and have double. That's a bit of a pain with Lightroom. I'm even trying other apps like Pixelmator Photo, because that also, and I paid for that. That was a little pricey, but I paid for it. But that's still, their clarity isn't as good as the dehaze that Lightroom Mobile has.
Yeah, that dehaze in Lightroom Mobile is probably the best on the market.
Yeah, that is, and the fact that I'm using Lightroom Mobile at no cost. Now, if I wanted to use all the features, I would have to subscribe. I think it's $10 a month or something like that. Honestly, if I was doing any photography professionally, it's a no-brainer. You get it.
Yeah. Because you're going to use the desktop version anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Honestly, I probably still use the mobile version.
No, but I'm saying if you were a professional.
Oh yeah, you would use the desktop. For some people, the only reason I'm saying that is I can see prosumers, let's say, spending more money on their phone and iPad than they would on their desktop. So the mobile version, their mobile hardware is probably better than their desktop hardware.
Case in point, Jack Hollingsworth.
Yeah,
he rarely does anything on his desktop. He is he's always edited on his iPhone, and now he's talking about stepping up to the iPad, which is still basically mobile editing.
Right.
But it's just giving him a little bigger canvas to play on.
Hmm.
But yeah, he does everything mobile.
Yeah. And like I said, I really, the Lightroom Mobile, their auto feature works really well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Their auto's really good. Um, and like I said, that dehaze button, which is not used when you hit auto, that whole effects button, that whole effects tab is never used for me. So you have to
Okay.
manually go over there, use the dehaze, use the clarity, and maybe put um, a vignette on it.
Yeah.
But it just makes such a difference. It
Yeah.
makes such a difference, even if it's an extra couple steps for me, which I think is a bit of a pain. But one of the photos we'll talk about in part two of the show, I did the edit in Lightroom Mobile. I tried other apps, and um, it just did so much better job with
Yeah.
getting the details. I just had, it was like, yeah, I tried this app, it didn't. I tried that app, it was kind of nice, and I put it in Lightroom, was like hit auto, was like, okay, yep, that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I really find Lightroom Mobile works wonderfully for night shots.
Yeah.
That's especially if I'm lucky enough to get a Milky Way or get stars in the picture. That dehaze and clarity
Mm-hmm.
can't be without them when it comes to night photography. And Shane Moston will attest to that.
Yeah.
He uses Lightroom Mobile probably almost exclusively by now for editing his night shots. Um, he may dip into Snapseed or something like that, but I'm pretty sure he uses Lightroom Mobile for all his astro work.
Yeah.
So it definitely shines there. For me, for an app, it's been Darkroom. I've mentioned this before. I don't know uh, why or how this happened, but I have a feeling it may have something to do with the addition to the pipeline that Apple put into the camera system of the photonic engine. Um, that's the only thing I could think of that maybe changed from my 12 Pro Max to the 14 Pro Max. And, I've always had Darkroom on my phone, but prior to getting to the 14 Pro Max, I was using most of the time just photos for my editing. And if it was a bit of a tricky edit, I would use raw power. And, I still love those apps, but for some reason, Darkroom really um, just works better for my workflow, for my
Mm-hmm.
editing, my procedure that I use, or whatever. Um, I mean, I can make a preset or whatever in there, and I haven't done it yet. I should play around with that sometime. Probably save me a bit of time, but I just really like the way, and especially with the latest update where they um, really, fine tune the algorithms for their uh, shadows and
Mm.
highlights and all that stuff. It just really does a good job of bringing out the details and things like that. So I'm really
Mm-hmm.
really enjoying Darkroom. So, um, what are you looking forward to? In 2023, anything kind of stand out in your mind that you might like to see happen, or
Well,
maybe.
yeah. Well, I would say a little bit of it is it's the chaos in social media, and
Mhm.
I think there's going to be a big splintering. Is that people like generally if I see someone mention something like a new social media platform, I'll go on there, put my name on it, just put my name on it. You know, just so I
Yeah,
can say, okay, in case this takes off, I'm here.
yeah, yeah.
Like Mastodon, everyone talked about, say, okay, I'm going to go Mastodon, get my username. So this is me. At
Hmm.
least I'm there. If it doesn't
Yeah.
take off, no big whoop. I have, old logins for other things that went away and died off.
Oh yeah.
So that I see something that's going to be, I don't want to say looking forward to, but I see that as a big deal photography wise. Just
Hmm.
connecting with people virtually, where
Hmm.
we no longer go, oh, everyone goes there. We don't have an anymore. Everyone goes there. For hardware, I saw one rumor, and I'm not happy with it, saying how they're looking for the next iPhone to have a 5x optical zoom. And in my mind, that's not enough.
No,
Going from
that
3
isn't
to
enough.
5, no. I want to see him do optical 10.
I honestly think that's what you will see because,
or
I
don't bump
mean,
it, or don't bump it. Keep it
yeah,
at
like
3
what's
if
the
you
point
can't.
if you're not going to go big? Go big
Yeah,
or go home, right?
because right now that's where they're getting hit at. There's literally the biggest weak point for me with iPhone photography. I would say 2: zoom and moonshots.
Yeah,
And the zoom will help the moonshot.
yeah, because
You can.
Samsung is eating Apple's lunch with moonshots.
Yeah. Now, admittedly, overall night mode, iPhone, high end Samsung, high end iPhone, they're tied. Or, it depends on what you like, or,
Yeah,
some
they're
people like,
so
well,
close that
it's so close you
the
won't notice it.
subjectiveness kind of kicks in.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Outside of the moonshots.
yep,
And I think honestly, but I would say if you look at most people getting these great moonshots on Samsung and maybe some Huawei or, other phones, it's
hmm
with the zoom.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
not, we have this wide shot where you have this very clear moon and the star, whatever stars come through. And then, no, it's because you're zoomed in and you're seeing these amazing shots.
yeah,
So unless they're really cheating, which I don't want to say they are for Samsung and other, they're saying, because you hear people say, "Oh, you can't take that good of a shot." What they're doing, they're looking at it and they're over superimposing, stock moon photos
yeah,
to
yeah.
tighten it up or whatever. I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, it's. I mean, if you, that's really sketchy.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
That's
really sketchy. Also, it may be one of those situations where it's easier just to make a better camera than it is to fake having a good camera.
yeah, that's right. Um, so to that point, I think
Yeah.
you're going to see a 10 times zoom this year. I don't know why, but I just have a gut feeling that they're actually going to step it up and finally do it. I mean, I think you're going to see USB-C, and and that's kind of because Apple's hands been kind of been forced by the European
Mm-hmm.
Union on that one. So they're not going to make it for them and not keep Lightning over here in North America. They're going to make the same bloody thing for globally, right? It only makes good sense. So yeah, I think we're going to see a 10 times zoom on the next phone because the 14 Pros have this massive, and I say massive, even though the Samsungs have a larger, but I mean for the iPhone, it's a massive sensor at 48 megapixels. It takes amazing pictures, but they're gonna have to do something to give it a real wow factor when they announce the next iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to see it in the 15, but in the 15 Pro or Ultra or whatever they're going to call it. I think that's when you're going to see, the 10 times zoom will really stand out. And when we finally get sometime in August, the invites go out where they show, their logo, their logo, which will have hints to what's going on.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of a hint there for a 10 times zoom. That's my thought.
Yeah. Well, I
um,
just looked at the latest rumors, which were this far out, but
yeah.
almost every, and I just said iPhone 15 zoom, and all the notes I'm getting are from July of this past year, September,
Because
maybe
they thought
at
it was
the,
coming this
well,
time.
no, they're even saying the iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Oh, okay.
So they're even, this is before the 14 came out. They were saying the 14 won't have it, but the 15 is what they're projecting. So
Okay.
they were projecting 15 months in the future,
Wow.
but nothing since then. That's the thing, nothing since then. And
Well,
we all
on
know,
that note, real quick, I did
yeah,
see a thing on Twitter today where I forget who it was that put this concept video together, but it was the 15 Ultra, and it showed a periscope zoom on the back of the camera.
right.
So, that's as recent as today. But for the most part, yeah, you're right. I haven't heard much,
Yeah.
since last summer, last fall.
And for something like that, it's got to be close to being locked down. Now, the hardware's got to be close to lockdown now for a fall rollout,
Yeah, because they're going to
because
start making them in like June.
right. And that means, well, that's when they'll assemble them.
Yeah.
So they have to make sure the suppliers can supply the components in volume
Mm-hmm.
at a very high level. And they have to make sure that it hits their quality control at that high level.
Yeah. So they'll have working prototypes now,
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the fact that you're not hearing anything, you know, it just may be early, but like the software stuff, um, like people heard there was going to be a 48 megapixel sensor in the 14 Pro,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the hardware. No one heard about the 2x zoom though, because that's all software.
Yes, that was
The
that
surprise.
was a surprise for sure. Yeah.
Mhm. And anything that they can do in software, they can keep in house inside of Apple
Yep.
using the hardware they're going to roll out, and there's no leaks.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
So, they're going to try to lock down as much as possible. But yeah, so, the 15, of course, every year is going to be a big year. I think the USB-C is going to be a big thing, especially hopefully if they use the high speed USB-C for getting more video than photos off the phone. But,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing something in cinematic mode. You want a hard thing to get that video off. You don't want to airdrop that video.
No. No, that's right.
So I could see that. I could see that, like I said, the 15 being the big thing, and the USB-C, not because they want to, because they have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to upset a lot of people just because everybody's got lightning cables coming out their wazoo at home. But I mean, the iPad's USB-C, the AirPod cases are
Yeah.
USB-C, everything else is going USB-C. So
Android's already USB-C, so
Android's been USB-C for a few years
getting
now.
USB-C cables is going to be cheap.
Yeah.
It's going to
Yeah.
be cheap. It'll be cheaper than getting a Lightning to USB-C adapter.
Yeah. 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 It's definitely time.
Yeah.
So we'll just do one more standout for me, I think, or something I'm looking forward to this year. The only thing that comes to my mind really is to see what kind of a print I can get from this 48 megapixel sensor. There's been there's been some back and forth on the iPhone photo team website about printing and whatnot. In fact, their latest podcast, they had Jeff Berg on there talking about printing photos, and it's got me to the point where I really want to get a good enough picture to print as big as I can from that sensor. So it's going to have to be, something from the main camera. I could even do a macro, because I could take a macro shot with one of my lenses and use that 48 megapixel sensor and just see how big the darn thing can get. So Dave, you see this picture behind me. Folks, if you haven't seen it, you can look on Shane Mawson's YouTube channel where we did a live show. It's the one sitting behind me of my parents' place. And that was from my iPhone 12 Pro Max. And it is about 24 by, it's an oddball size. It's actually about 22 by 24 or something. It's a weird size, but it's a good size print. Now, here's the thing. I did upscale it in Pixelmator Photo. So, it's been it's been upscaled before it went to print. Whether that helped it, I don't know. I should have left it and maybe tried it, but I'm looking forward to seeing what I can get from the 48. Now, I do have a picture that is okay, so I might as well self-promote this. I'm working on a video for my YouTube channel where I go through my top 10 favorites from last year. And my number one pick is one from the 48 megapixel camera. And I'd love to get it blown up as big as I can, like 4 feet by 5 feet or something, just to see how it looks. What I'll probably do to start, though, is take a little snippet, finish the file to as if it was going to print that big, and then take out an 8x10 section of it and print it on my printer here at home and find a spot in the file where there shows some detail and see how it looks. That would be a little test I can do at home here before I try to fork out some money to get a big one. But the other thing is, I don't know where the hell I'd put it if I did print one that big.
You need a large wall for that. That's pretty clear.
Yeah, and we do have one downstairs that I could probably talk my wife into letting me use. But that's something that that's something that I look forward to this year, is just to see, how big of a print I can get from this phone. So, yeah, so that's kind of last year's and this year's peaks and valleys, I guess you could call them. And anything else you can think of that you might be looking forward to this year, Dave?
No, I think we covered mostly there. Of course, there's going to be weird stuff happening that we didn't expect that's going to throw everything off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would have to say probably the biggest thing that probably both you and I are looking forward to is, like you said, looking for this 10 times zoom on the iPhone 15 Pro or Ultra or whatever they're going to call it. Even though we're probably not going to get one. I know I'm not. I don't imagine you are. Because they're just so damn much money. But I still am looking forward to seeing it and seeing what people can produce with it. I can't wait to see some people's astro shots from a 10 times optical zoom in an iPhone. So, well, I guess that's going to be it for this one. Let's tell people where they can find you.
Sure, you can find me on most social media as ProfPod. On TikTok as ProfPodPGH, and on the Facebook group as Dave Podner Jr.
Alrighty, and you can find me on the usual suspects: Instagram, Twitter, and all that stuff. And the Facebook groups. Most of all, if you went to About, and that's Canadian accent kicking in, about.me/McMillan, you'll find all my links to pretty much everywhere I am. I don't know if I've added Mastodon there yet, but the main ones will be in our show notes. And I'm also going to throw in the show notes real quick too, a link to my best of 2022. Not the top 10 I spoke of, but it's about an 8-minute video of, I think there's 73 pictures over the course of the year that I put together. And I do this every year. And I threw it up on my channel today. So go have a look and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And I guess on that note, I guess we'll see everybody on the next one.
Have a good one, everyone.
Okay. Well, let's get this show on the road. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I moved the...
Uh-oh. Funny thing is, I never heard nothing. I didn't even hear it.
Oh, that's good.